The story begins with an office worker named Takahiro. Man, what a boring life, he sighs. Every day he comes home tired from work and watches a show to lighten his mood. But this time something strange happens. His TV screen suddenly flickers and a weird figure appears on it. Out of nowhere, his glass starts glowing, and before he knows it, Takahiro gets pulled right into the screen. When he opens his eyes, he sees a man sitting in front of him. Shocked, Takahiro asks, "Who are you? What's going on?" The man smiles and says, "Don't worry, I'm the manager of the solar system. I just created a new planet called Comedia." He explains that this planet needs to be filled with life and greenery, and he wants Takahiro's help to make it flourish. Takahiro refuses at first. "Why me?" he says. But the mysterious man laughs. "Well, your body is already fading away, so you don't have much choice. Don't worry, I'll give you some cool gifts to help you out." Hearing the word gifts, Takahiro perks up. The man grants him infinite mana and asks, "Do you want anything else?" Takahiro replies, "Maybe some powerful abilities would be nice." So the man gives him a few amazing powers, like trading abilities that let him sell items and earn money, even diamond coins for free. One by one, Takahiro receives stronger and cooler powers, and he feels excited like never before. But suddenly, his body begins to fade completely. He realizes he's being sent away. "Wait! Where am I going?" he shouts. Before disappearing, the man gives him one last magical ability and says goodbye. When Takahiro opens his eyes again, he finds himself in a brand new world. "Am I in another world?" he mutters. He looks around and sees a huge planet stretching before his eyes. Determined, he thinks, "I should find some humans first. Maybe that'll help me understand this place." He starts walking and soon reaches a forest filled with strange items. Curious, he tries to use his magic for the first time. "Magic ability, activate," he commands, but nothing happens. Embarrassed, he tries again using a different spell, and this time, it works. He laughs in excitement. Finally, his magic works. Exploring the forest, he finds all sorts of random items and starts collecting them, hoping to sell them for money. But most of the stuff he finds is low-quality junk. Still, he doesn't give up. Then suddenly he spots a shiny piece of stone. "This looks valuable," he says, and uses his ability to inspect it. But it turns out not to be a normal rock. It's a rare C-rank magical stone. Excited, he stores it in his bag. He learns that his magic can now identify different symbols, and each symbol has its own meaning. Soon, his bag is full of strange items, so he decides to find a nearby village to trade them. As the sun sets, Takahiro meets a tall soldier guarding the village gate. The man stares at him in shock. Takahiro's height is enormous compared to normal people. The guard jokes, "Dude, did you drink too much protein shake as a kid?" Takahiro laughs, "Nope, just an adventurer passing by." He finally enters the village, where everyone stares at him in amazement. He finds a trader and offers to sell his collected items. The trader examines one and gasps, "This is pure iron. Only a few adventurers ever bring something like this." He smiles and says, "I'll give you 5 gold coins for it." Takahiro is shocked. "Wait, this tiny thing is worth that much?" The trader rubs the metal against his cheek like it's treasure, clearly thrilled. Takahiro then sells the rest of his items, earning a good amount of money. Before leaving, the trader says, "Hey, I could use your help. Can you climb the mountain behind the school and collect some mithril ore for me?" Takahiro nods. "Sure, why not?" The trader warns, "Be careful though, that area is full of dangerous monsters." Takahiro gulps but agrees anyway. With the money he just earned, he rents a small room in the village for the night. As he lies on the bed, he thinks, "What kind of world is this? Should I just live here freely, or try to find a way back?" And with that thought, he slowly drifts to sleep, ready for whatever adventure comes next. Just then, someone knocks on Takahiro's door. When he opens it, a small, strange-looking maid stands there, holding a bucket of water. She steps inside and says, "Hey, adventurer, do you need some water?" Takahiro frowns. "Water? What for?" The maid looks surprised. "Well, to clean yourself, of course. Don't you take baths?" Takahiro laughs. "So you're saying I can't take a bath?" She replies, "Not exactly. You can't afford to. In this world, only nobles are allowed to bathe. Ordinary people can't." Takahiro's jaw drops. "Wait, what? Only nobles can bathe? That's insane." He gets annoyed, gently pushes the maid out of the room and says, "Forget it. I'll clean myself my way." Then he uses his magic ability. "Clean!" he commands, and instantly his water magic activates. Streams of glowing water swirl around him, washing every bit of dirt away. He feels refreshed like never before. "Wow, this is the best bath ever," he says proudly. The next morning, Takahiro sets out on his new adventure again. He heads back toward the mountain to collect the mithril ore for the trader. On the way, he spots a big mushroom and tosses it into his bag. As he walks deeper into the woods, he notices a strange glowing symbol on the ground. Curious, he investigates and finds the dead body of an adventurer. Takahiro checks it carefully and realizes the man must have died recently. Beside him lies a letter from his sister. Feeling sorry, Takahiro uses his magic to pay his respects before moving on. He activates his builder ability to set up camp and cooks food using his magic this time. The aroma fills the air. "Wow, this tastes amazing. Magic cooking is awesome," he says, happily eating. After resting, he continues his journey and finally reaches the forest of the ancient dragon, a dangerous place filled with mysterious monsters. To stay safe, Takahiro uses his lightning spell to light the way and keep dark creatures away. As he explores, he collects more rare items, but his main goal is still to find the mithril ore. He runs deeper into the forest, but suddenly the ground collapses beneath him. He's about to fall into a deep ravine. "Fly magic, activate!" he shouts just in time. He floats gently down and lands safely inside a hidden cavern. When he looks around, he realizes he's inside an ancient mine. Glowing symbols cover the stone walls, and inside, he finds ores of silver, gold, and more precious metals. Excited, he starts searching for mithril. But suddenly, the ground shakes violently. The whole mine starts trembling. "Not good," he mutters. Ignoring the danger, Takahiro throws a magic orb that blasts open a new passage. There, he finally finds mithril ore, but only a small amount. "This isn't enough," he says, determined to find more. He continues searching and spots a dark tunnel at the end of the mine. Running inside, he discovers an underground river filled with strange, shimmering water. When he uses his magic to analyze it, he realizes it's elemental water of serenity, something extremely rare. But then, a deep voice echoes from below. "Who dares to wake me up?" Takahiro freezes. He can't even respond. Before he can move, the water begins to swirl violently, and from it emerges a giant dragon. Takahiro falls to his knees. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." The dragon's eyes glow. "Humph. Even after drinking my elemental water, you can still stand? You're not an ordinary human, are you?" Takahiro stays silent, nervous but curious. The dragon continues, "I'm an ancient dragon named Vol." Takahiro takes a deep breath and says, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Vol." Vol smirks. I need your help, human. My egg hasn't hatched yet. If you help me hatch it, I'll give you all the mithril ore you want." Takahiro's eyes widen in excitement. "Deal!" The dragon uses magic to bring out a massive, pitch-black egg, huge and glowing faintly. "Now, put all your mana into it," Vol instructs. Takahiro nods. He channels all his energy into the egg. It begins to shine, and his mana level drops rapidly. His vision blurs, and he collapses, unconscious. In the darkness, he hears a familiar voice. It's the solar system manager again, but this time, his form is completely dark. You shouldn't have faced that dragon directly, the voice says. Next time, if you see one, run. Moments later, Takahiro regains consciousness. He opens his eyes to see darkness all around. Mr. Vol, are you here? He calls out. Then he hears a small sound, a gentle roar. A tiny, adorable dragon baby crawls out of the egg and climbs onto his lap. The dragon's deep voice echoes once more. Give him a name. Takahiro smiles, thinking for a while. Then he says, How about B? The baby dragon chirps happily, and even Vol's distant voice rumbles in approval. From now on, Vol says, my son will travel the world with you. Takahiro nods with a big grin. All right, B. Ready for an adventure? The little dragon flaps his wings excitedly. As the river glows behind them, Vol sinks back into the water, leaving Takahiro and B at the start of a new journey, stronger, braver, and no longer alone. That little dragon was super stinky. So first, Takahiro decided to clean him up properly. Once he was all fresh, they finally stepped outside the cave. When B saw the sunlight for the first time, his tiny eyes sparkled with happiness. Excited, he started flying around joyfully. Takahiro smiled and said, Hey B, was that your first time seeing the outside world? B nodded happily. Everything was going great, until Takahiro realized the sun was already setting. The evening was turning dark and the forest around them looked a little scary. So Takahiro decided, let's camp here for tonight. B chirped excitedly. He was totally loving this adventure. Takahiro opened his item box, pulled out some elemental water, the same kind he had before, and realized something shocking. Mr. Veer had secretly placed infinite water inside his bag. He poured some into a bowl and gave it to B to drink. B gulped it down and looked super happy. He was still just a baby after all, no teeth yet, and couldn't eat solid food. The magical water made him stronger and even boosted Takiro's own mana level too. That night, Takahiro pulled out some magical stones from his bag and used them to create a glowing protective barrier around their camp. He remembered reading in a book that magical stones in this world were usually used as energy sources, but Takahiro had a rare gift. He could create them with his own magic. He built a small fire using those stones, and soon warm light filled the camp. B watched in awe, his eyes wide with wonder. Then Takahiro decided to cook. Using his limited cooking skills, he made something simple but delicious, a warm bowl of soup. He handed it to B, but B yelped, Ouch! It's hot! Takahiro quickly cooled it down with a bit of ice magic, and B happily slurped it up. Both of them looked so peaceful and content by the fire. Later that night, as they were about to sleep, Takahiro asked softly, B, don't you miss your dad, Mr. Veer? B tilted his head. To him, Takahiro already felt like family. Takahiro smiled quietly, realizing B had accepted him as his parent. Still, he knew one thing. B belonged to a dragon race, and as he grew stronger, his power and rank would rise too. That could make him dangerous someday. So Takahiro warned him, B, no matter what happens, you must never lose control or cause destruction. Promise me. B blinked innocently and nodded. Takahiro smiled, thinking how much he loved this new life. He also realized that meeting B wasn't random. It was probably fate, tied to the mysterious solar system manager who had given him strange powers before he arrived in this world. The next morning, Takahiro started climbing a mountain. They had to return to their home village, Term Village, as soon as possible. As they climbed, Takahiro suddenly remembered. This was the same forest where dangerous monsters appeared at night. But since it was daytime now, the area was safe. They continued their journey. B, full of energy, flew ahead excitedly. Meanwhile, Takahiro used his research ability to gather some herbs and minerals from the area. Suddenly, his magic scanner detected hostile creatures nearby. He quickly pulled B back to safety. Last time, he thought his smell kept monsters away, but that had been a huge mistake. And now, they were surrounded again. From behind the trees, a massive rock monster appeared. B froze in shock, trembling, but Takahiro stayed calm. After all, he had faced creatures way scarier, like Mr. Veer. He smiled and said, Guess what's for dinner tonight? Then, using his magic ability, he blasted the monster into dust in one single hit. Perfect, he said. Dinner's ready. But before they could relax, B suddenly shouted, "Takiro, look, those wild wolves are attacking us." Takiro turned around. Dozens of furious wolves were charging at them. He immediately made his body light as air, jumped high, then used gravity magic to make himself heavy again, crashing down with a thunderous impact. One by one, he smashed the wolves and ended the fight. After gathering materials from the defeated beasts, he used his magic scan again and realized even more monsters were nearby. Before they could attack, B lifted Takiro into the air to fly them away quickly. Takiro yelled, "Hey, B! You're flying too high! I'm too heavy! Put me down!" B panicked and dropped him mid-air. Takiro screamed all the way down but landed safely thanks to his magic. When he stood up, he realized they were finally close to the village. "We made it," he said with relief. B chirped happily, though he didn't really understand what was going on. As they walked, B noticed a small branch in Takiro's hand. "What's that?" he asked. Takiro smiled. "This branch is special. I've had it in my item box for a while." B used his mystic magic on it, and suddenly the branch grew into a glowing staff. Takiro was surprised. "Whoa, I'm just a regular human. Can I even use a staff like that?" They laughed and argued playfully. But before they could finish, they heard a loud, terrifying roar coming from deep inside the forest. B's eyes sparkled with excitement again. Without thinking, he rushed toward the sound. Takiro sighed and followed him, ready for whatever mystery awaited them next. B suddenly stopped flying and looked down at something. Takiro followed him, and there, lying near a tree, was a strange-looking elf girl. She looked weak and hurt. Takiro ran to her and asked, "Hey, did someone attack you?" But the elf girl couldn't even speak properly. Her lips trembled, and then her stomach growled loudly. Takiro blinked in surprise. "Wait! That sound came from your belly," the elf whispered weakly. "I haven't eaten anything for 3 days." Hearing that, Takiro immediately opened his item box, pulled out a bottle of elemental water, and handed it to her. The girl drank it quickly, and her face brightened up a little, but her stomach still rumbled. She was clearly starving. So Takiro searched through his bag again and found some lunch leftovers from before. He offered it to her. The elf took a bite, and her eyes widened in joy. "Wow, this food tastes amazing. I feel like I'm in heaven." After eating, her mana energy was completely restored, and she looked much healthier. As they talked, Takiro asked curiously, "You're an adventurer, right? Then why didn't you carry any food with you?" The elf blushed and said quietly, "I kind of forgot." Takiro frowned. "You forgot? What kind of adventurer goes on a mission without food?" Hearing that, she looked embarrassed, but then she sniffed the air and wrinkled her nose. "Ugh, what's that smell? Is that you?" Takiro froze. "Huh? What smell?" She giggled nervously. "Maybe it's, poop smell?" Takiro sighed. "Great, just great." The elf turned bright red and said, "Anyway, I have some urgent work to do. Bye," and ran off, leaving Takiro standing there awkwardly while B chuckled behind him. After that, Takiro and B continued exploring the forest, collecting rare magical items and herbs. Some of them were even high-ranking materials. Eventually, they reached the exit of the forest, where B suddenly spotted something, a wagon approaching from a distance. Takiro watched carefully as the wagon came closer, pulled by a beautiful white unicorn. He waved at the driver and said, "Hey there, where are you heading?" The man smiled. "We're traveling to Army Village." "And you?" Takiro replied, "I'm not an adventurer. I'm just a gatherer, heading to Term Village." The man nodded. "Well then, why don't you ride with us? There's room in the wagon." Takiro hesitated. "Oh no, I'm pretty big. I don't want to bother anyone." But the man insisted kindly, so Takiro finally climbed aboard. Inside, he met the man's family, his wife and 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They all greeted him warmly. As the wagon rolled toward Term Village, Takiro noticed how peaceful they all seemed. The kids were curious and kept asking him questions. He smiled and thought, "Ever since I came to this world, every child I meet seems to like me. Strange." One of the kids laughed and said, "You're huge, mister." Takiro chuckled. "Yeah, sorry about that." The father, whose name was Poland, said kindly, "Size doesn't matter, my friend." Takiro started chatting with the children. "You know, you shouldn't just trust random strangers like me. What if I was a thief?" The boy replied confidently, "That's impossible. When you came near, our magic belt didn't react and it can sense evil mana." Takiro blinked. "Magic belt? Wow, that's smart." Soon they all introduced themselves. The woman's name was Eliza, the girl was Yuna, the boy was Ken, and the man driving the wagon was Polan. As they traveled, Ken suddenly turned around, his eyes wide. "Hey, did you hear that sound behind us?" Takiro tensed. Could it be a monster? Everyone got nervous, but Takiro raised his hand and said calmly, "Don't worry, I do have a creature with me, but he's not dangerous." Just then, Bee peeked out from behind Takiro's bag. The kids gasped in surprise, and then squealed with excitement. "Whoa, a baby dragon! He's so cute!" Polan and his family were stunned. "You have a dragon?" Polan asked. "Mister, are you a dragon knight? Only dragon knights can keep dragons as partners." Takiro laughed nervously. "Oh no, I just found him by accident." They all stared at him, shocked. Takiro scratched his head and added, "Yeah, I guess I kind of hatched him myself." The family was completely amazed. In this world, dragons were incredibly rare, and only the chosen few could raise them. That evening, the group decided to camp for the night. Takiro used light magic to brighten the area, then set some magical stones around the camp to protect everyone. Polan and his family were amazed. "You can use light magic too? That's incredible." Takiro smiled and replied, "Yeah, but aren't you guys afraid of traveling at night?" And that's where their new adventure under the starlit sky began. No one knew what could happen next. Maybe some scary monster would attack them. But suddenly, everyone started laughing. "Don't worry, we have the dragon, Tengu, to protect us," someone said. And just like that, the whole group felt safe and happy again. Then Takiro used his saucer-like gadget and sent a shining file flying through the air. The kids were amazed. Their eyes widened in surprise. Elijah smiled and said, "All right, everyone, time to rest. I'll make dinner." But just then, Hiro raised his hand. "Hey, if you don't mind, can I help with the cooking too?" Elijah nodded with a smile. And in no time, Takiro cooked up a delicious meal for everyone. As soon as they took their first bite, it felt like heaven. Everyone loved it. Even Polan started crying. "Polan, why are you crying?" Takiro asked. Polan wiped his tears and said, "Because this food is so delicious. We've been eating spoiled meat for days. This is the best meal I've had in forever." Elijah laughed. "Takiro, you're a real magician in the kitchen." Everyone sang songs and celebrated happily that night. As they slowly fell asleep, Takiro thought about how wonderful it felt to eat and laugh with everyone together. The next morning, sunlight peeked through the trees. Elma Tatahiro had already woken up, but Bee and the kids were still sleeping peacefully. Takiro started oiling his saucer machine, while Pelham took care of his horses. Elijah walked up to Takiro and asked, "So, what kind of adventure are you planning next?" Takiro smiled. "Something amazing, I hope." She nodded. "Then I'm sure it'll be a great one." Soon, Hiro called out, "Takiro, come on! Breakfast's ready." Everyone gathered to eat before continuing their journey to the nearby village. Takiro drove the unicorn cart himself. He was excited to ride through this new world. The unicorn was incredibly smart and followed every command perfectly. After a while, they finally reached the village. When they arrived, everyone was amazed. The place looked peaceful and full of life. Hiro and his family moved ahead to explore, while Takiro went to speak with the village guard. "Hey," Takiro asked, "do you know what Hiro does for a living?" The guard nodded. "Of course. He's a traveler, a man who journeys across the entire world. His goal is to visit every single corner of it." Takiro was impressed. "Wow, that's amazing." After that, he went to visit the blacksmith Jairam, who had asked him to bring some metal ore. Bee and the kids were super excited to see the blacksmith's workshop. Takiro handed Jairam the metal ore, and the blacksmith began inspecting it carefully. "Do you realize what you've brought me?" Jairam asked. "Yeah, I figured it was something special," Takiro said. Jairam smiled. "Special? Kid, this is no ordinary metal. This is magical metal ore, legendary stuff, and it's rare, powerful, and dangerous." Takiro's eyes widened in shock. "Really?" "Absolutely," Jairam said proudly. "You're quite a talented gatherer, Takiro. With skills like yours, you should head to Belcam City. That's where real adventurers grow stronger. Don't waste your talent here." Hearing that, Takiro's eyes lit up with excitement. Even Bee was happy, though he admitted they didn't have enough money to buy even one piece of that magical metal. "If we tried, we'd have to sell the whole village," Bee joked. That night, Takiro decided to travel to Belcam City. As everyone slept, he read a book about adventurers and guilds. He learned that to become an official adventurer, he first needed to join a guild. He smiled to himself and whispered, "So, B, are you ready for our next adventure?" That night, B looked at Takiro and said, "I'm totally ready." Later, Takiro met a kind maid who offered him some food before he left. Soon, the whole village started celebrating. Laughter, lights, and music filled the air. Everyone was excited and happy, especially because they all loved B and respected Takiro. He always took care of everyone. The next morning, Takiro went out early to gather some mushrooms. Then he returned to the same maid. He had decided to leave for Belcam City at sunrise. When the maid saw him, her eyes filled with tears. "Takiro," she said softly, "can't you stay a little longer? If you leave, I'll really miss you." Takiro smiled gently. "I wish I could stay, but I have to go. There's something waiting for me out there." Understanding his feelings, the maid nodded. Before he left, she packed him a special lunch. Takiro placed it carefully in his item box and whispered, "Thank goodness for this magic storage." That night, Takiro and B played a few games to relax. But deep inside, Takiro kept thinking, "I should give something back to these villagers before I go." After thinking for a while, he pulled out a piece of magical metal and a crystal core from his pocket. Setting them on the table, he began to merge them using his magic powers. Sparks flew as the two objects fused together, glowing brightly. Takiro grinned. "Perfect, just like I imagined." By morning, he was ready to leave for Belcam City. The villagers gathered around, emotional and teary-eyed. Takiro held out the glowing object and said, "Before I go, I made this gift for you all." Everyone gasped. No one could figure out what it was. He explained, "This device will protect the entire village. If any monster tries to attack, it'll activate and destroy it instantly." Jairam, the blacksmith, examined the item and looked stunned. "Wait a minute, there's magical metal inside this. Did you actually make this yourself?" Takiro laughed. "Yup, pretty cool, huh?" Jairam's eyes widened. "This is legendary craftsmanship. You're incredible." Before anyone could say another word, Takiro and B waved goodbye and began their journey. But their adventure didn't stay peaceful for long. A powerful crime boss blocked their path, a massive monster named Sirenka. He was strong enough to crush a building with his bare hands. Takiro quickly scanned the creature using his ability and said, "It's Sirenka. Looks like he's edible too. Guess we've got dinner plans." He activated his magic armor, his body glowing with energy. B charged forward and, with a single slash, defeated the beast instantly. Takiro shouted, "Whoa, B, you can actually do that?" Before they could celebrate, two more monsters surrounded them. Takiro braced himself, ready to fight, but B jumped in, unleashing a powerful gust of energy that threw the monsters backward. They crashed into each other and exploded. "Dinner's ready again," Takiro joked. That night, they roasted the monster meat over fire, added a bit of water and salt, and shared a meal under the stars. "It's delicious," B said happily. By sunrise, they finally arrived at Belcam City, a huge, breathtaking place filled with tall towers and magical lights. Takiro couldn't hide his excitement. "This city is incredible," he said, scanning everything with his ability. B was equally amazed, his little dragon eyes sparkling with curiosity. As they entered the city gates, guards stopped them for inspection. A young woman and a guard approached Takiro. "Name, please?" she asked. "My name's Takiro," he said politely. "And what brings you here?" "I'm a gatherer," he explained. "Oh, so you're here to sell items?" "Not exactly," Takiro replied. "I came to become an adventurer." The guard raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "An adventurer, huh?" He pulled out a glowing orb to scan Takiro's abilities and asked him a few questions. Takiro answered each one confidently and perfectly. But as the guard finished, he frowned. "Wait, your status says something strange. Dragon blessing? What's that supposed to mean?" Takiro smiled and opened his bag. B peeked his head out. Everyone froze. "Whoa! Is that a dragon?" "Yeah," Takiro said proudly. "Meet B." The guards and the woman were speechless. "A dragon? Here?" The guard turned to his partner. "We need to inform the king right away. Dragons are almost extinct in this world." The woman leaned forward and asked Takiro softly, "Do you have any royal symbol or seal with you?" "Hey, if you've got it, put it on your stomach," B said playfully. Takahiro nodded and carefully pressed the strange symbol he'd found earlier into B's oil. The symbol glowed softly, and B looked thrilled. After that, the guards came closer and said, "Just keep walking straight. You'll reach the Adventurer Guild."